All right. Thank you, Mr. Stone. We can get going. I want to welcome everybody to Human Services today. I'm Assemblymember Susan Bonilla, new chair of this committee, and thank you very much for joining us. Just as in terms of ground rules, we're going to have 3 witnesses permitted for support, 3 for opposition. Each witness will get 3 minutes. If you only do 2, you'll get a bonus. Additional witnesses for either side, just please state your name and organization only, and that will help us move through the rather lengthy agenda that we have today. We're going to start our hearing as a subcommittee today, waiting for our other members who are all in various other hearings. So there's a lot going on in the building today. First author to have signed in is Assemblymember Kim. I invite you forward, and we'll get started on AB 1699. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Member Stone. Thank you very much for having me. I'd like to start off by accepting the committee amendments and the analysis, and thank you and your staff for working with us. I really appreciate your engagement and thoughtfulness on this issue. The number of homeless youth in California is staggering. Over 298,000 youth in grades K through 12 experience homelessness at some point during the school year. In my district alone, there are nearly 8,600 homeless public school children. You know, throughout the state of California, especially in the Southern California in Orange County, there are many local groups and organizations, and I want to take this opportunity to thank them for helping this vulnerable homeless population. But current services for homeless youth, due to lack of resources, aren't getting the job done in providing them with basic necessities like food, shelter, job training, and basic life skills. California needs a plan and more funding to address the state's homeless youth crisis. The Homeless Youth and Exploitation Program, which was enacted in the 1980s, is woefully underfunded. In fact, the number of beds available to youth in temporary and emergency shelters has not increased since 1988. If you account for inflation, the number of beds available actually decreases. There is also no funding for transitional living programs that would give affected young people the skills and training to get off the streets for good. AB 1699 would expand the Homeless Youth and Exploitation Program, which currently only supports 4 providers and just 5,000 youth annually. By expending funds to an already successful grant program, funds can be awarded on a competitive basis directly to nonprofits who meet requirements in urban, suburban, and rural areas of the state that are not being served with crisis and stabilization services, which is the first step toward getting these kids off the street. AB 1699 additionally gives the $25 million infusion to the Office of Emergency Services, who administered this program, to expand crisis stabilization services and launch a 24 to 36 months transitional living programs to serve the youth across the state. With me today are stakeholders and homeless youth advocates, and I would like to ask them to give self-introduction and begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Kim Lewis, representing the California Coalition for Youth. We are a statewide advocacy organization representing runaway and homeless youth throughout the state. From what we know, about 20 out of the 58 counties have services of any kind providing direct services for homeless youth. And as the Assemblywoman stated, that the existing 1 program out of 2 that the state actually funds to support and provide direct services for homeless youth is adequately underfunded and only serves 4 counties per the original statute back in the 1980s. This bill will help expand services to additional counties, provide an infusion of funding as much needed. The bill also helps mirror the federal Runaway and Homeless Youth Act and provide the similar services that feds provide, which actually only brings in around $5 to $7 million in funding from the feds. California is not getting its fair share of federal funding and a lot of other programs, and this is definitely one of them as well. So we appreciate your support in being able to help homeless youth specifically, help them transition from turning into our chronic homeless population, which we know we are having a challenge with in the state, having them end up being incarcerated and end up in our local jails and juvenile halls. So helping youth to give them the skills that they necessary to transition, we can support them onto the path of independent living when they're adults. We know that there's the brain development that's happening in research that's coming out showing that youth are still having brain development and aren't fully functioning until the age of 25. A lot of the youth that our folks see in programs actually have similar histories as the foster youth who end up homeless in the streets, but unfortunately, if a youth has never been in foster care, there is a lack of services and funding available to support them and provide them into programs. So a lot of the work we've done around the expansion of foster care unfortunately doesn't serve some of the youth who are out on the streets today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherilyn Adams. I'm the Executive Director of Larkin Street Youth Services in San Francisco. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm going to expand a bit on what Kim talked about just to give context. Larkin Street serves runaway and homeless youth aged 12 to 24 in San Francisco. We provide a breadth of activities, a breadth of services for those young people, including street outreach, shelter, housing, education, employment, medical care, HIV services, all designed to help young people both come in off the streets, if you will, and into safety and sanctuary, and to build the skills they need to successfully transition into adults. At this point, we operate in some form or fashion about 86 beds that are designed for early engagement or shelter, and about 246 beds that are some form of transitional or supportive housing for young people. In terms of the current funding that we receive through the Office of Emergency Services, that funding is, as Kim described, to help provide emergency crisis services to young people. So that is food and shelter and basic supports, counseling and things like that to help folks, again, come in off the streets, engage with us, build trust so that we can begin to help and address the needs that they have. In the past 6 months alone, we get about $300,000 a year from this funding source. We use that to leverage other dollars, including some local dollars from San Francisco, as well as private philanthropy dollars. And so with the dollars, we've been able to serve close to 1,500 young people with street-based outreach services, about 560 meals, 212 young people were linked to basic health care, 178 received crisis and ongoing counseling. 66 were off the street in one of our emergency shelters, and 169 young people were reunified with their families or made an alternative stabilization plan. In terms of the transitional living programs that we operate, as Kim mentioned, the idea behind a transitional living program is really to help young people come into housing and get the supports that they need, whether that's education, employment, healthcare, behavioral healthcare, a case manager, sort of somebody who does what many of us do as parents, like how was your day and what do you need and what are your goals and how do we get there, to be able to ensure that they successfully move into adulthood, right? So all the dollars that we invest, we estimate that about for every sort of dollar we spend on young people, we save about 5 times the cost of long-term ongoing chronic homelessness. So in the programs that we identify as our transitional living program model, last year we served about 99 young people, and about 88% of those young people successfully exited our programs and into independence. Being able to expand this opportunity for more folks within California to have it expand to greater communities and counties, both the crisis intervention services as well as the transitional living programs, I think is critical to the young people of California. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in support that would like to speak? Name and organization only.
Nicole Wertelman on behalf of the Orange County Board of Supervisors in support.
Thank you.
Susanna Niffen with Children Now in support. Sorry, Suzanne. Kathy Sunderling with the County Welfare Directors Association in support.
Anyone speaking? Oh. Thank you.
Ruthie Goldkorn, No Barriers, Disabled Access Consulting and Advocacy Services, Legislative Committee, Californians for Disability Rights. We stand in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley Situde with Nosman on behalf of North Orange County Community College District in support.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition? Seeing no one in opposition, would you like to close?
Well, I appreciate the committee again for working with us and the thoughtful dialogue this afternoon. So thank you very much, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. We're still a subcommittee, so we're not going to be able to vote at this time, but thank you very much, and we will take this up as soon as we get a quorum.
Okay, great.
Next, we have Assemblymember Burke, AB 2448. Which number is that? 21. Welcome.
Hi.
Please begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I would like to accept the amendments offered in the committee analysis. Today, more than ever, we know that for our state to thrive, we need to help more people graduate high school and receive the training and education they need to be competitive in our rapidly changing job market. We are seeing some improvements, but there are ways we can increase the likelihood of success for many pursuing high school equivalency and beyond. For our constituents receiving CalWORK benefits, they are given 24 months of eligibility unless they meet federal work requirements or meet criteria to have their clock extended. This means that some pursuing high school equivalency have 24 months to obtain high school equivalency, receive training, and find a job. If this is not done, then benefits are taken away when the clock runs out. We know that a high school dropout makes $7,000 less a year than a high school graduate. We also know that a male dropout is 6 times more likely to be incarcerated than one who has graduated from high school. What we do to improve the life chances of beneficiaries while they pursue an education makes all the difference in the world. AB 2448 allows CalWORK enrollees without a high school diploma the time to complete their education before their 24-month clock starts to tick, giving them enough time to get the training and additional education they need to build a career. With the right policy, we can connect beneficiaries to careers, not just minimum wage jobs. It's not just good for enrollees, it's good for the overall economy. I respectfully request an aye vote.
Thank you. In support.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Kathy Sunderling with the County Welfare Directors Association. We're the sponsor of this legislation, and we're pleased to be sponsoring this with Assemblywoman Burke. As she noted, the statistics are really stark. A high school graduate has around an 8% unemployment rate. Someone without a high school equivalency has a 13.1% unemployment rate on average in this country. In addition, the earnings are substantially different. So thinking through how we're able to move our CalWORKs parents not just into a training program, but into a job that can actually pay a living wage for them to support their families, get off the program, and then stay off the program and break that cycle of poverty for themselves and their children is really the purpose of the bill. What the bill does is allow that equivalency to be done outside of the 24-month clock. There's still an overall 48-month limit on aid for the lifetime of the person, and that doesn't change with the bill. And so essentially, removing this barrier, we think, will give us time to be able to work with that person once they get their high school equivalency to get better training, to pursue additional education, and to climb that ladder. Thank you for your support.
Excellent. Anyone else in support? Please state your name and organization into the microphone.
Ruthie Goldkorn, No Barriers, Disabled Access Consulting and Advocacy Services, Legislative Committee, Californians for Disability Rights. We stand in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Others in support?
Enrique Roacho with the Los Angeles Unified School District, also in support because it encourages completion of high school equivalency programs. Thank you.
Janine Micheletti representing, the California Alternative Payment Program Association in support.
Mike Carroll with the Western Center on Law and Poverty, also in support.
Wonderful. Anyone in opposition? Seeing none. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, would you like to close?
I respectfully request an aye vote.
Okay, excellent bill. Thank you so much for bringing it forward, and we'll consider it as soon as we get a quorum. Thank you.